This Ramsdale versus Raya thing, before I start, I want to say I could not care less who's number one. Whoever gives us the best chance to win trophies, that's who our goalkeeper should be. There's no room for sentimental vibes when trying to compete with these robots. Now, it's quite clear for us all to see that Arteta has picked David Raya, and now Ramsdale's dad's going to go and do bare podcasts. Now, I can't lie, I didn't see Leno's dad doing podcasts. I didn't see Emi Martinez's dad doing podcasts. But we already saw from All or Nothing that Ramsdale's dad clearly has a problem with how we play. So if you don't really like how we play and you want your son to go knock it long every week, you can take him to Everton or something, please. I like Ramsdale, that's my guy. Wonderful personality. I'm very thankful for him bringing us a Champions League after, 7 years. But that interview that's now circulating is just showing everything that I said on your very channel just a few months ago. For some reason, in the biggest games, he's completely switched on. He'll have incredible games like away Anfield and stuff like that. But when it comes to meaty teams, suddenly he loses focus. And I said to you, man, before, David Raya is the opposite. He's never been in high pressure games. In fact, when he did, he made that howler in the playoff final. But in all the lower level games, he's fantastic. He's always switched on and he has that element of calmness that Arteta obviously wants. Is he our keeper for the next 5 years? I don't know, personally. I don't really think either of them are a massive upgrade on each other. But in terms of style of play, Arteta's clearly said, you man, stop shouting at David Raya if he makes a mistake. It's on me. It's my fault. I told him to put his studs on the ball and wait for the opponent. So in that case, you got to say, listen, fair enough. The game is the game. Unfortunately, Ramsdale, you just have to charge it. Obviously, nobody wants to be on the bench, and I'm glad that he's not just happy to collect money whilst doing nothing. But for his dad to come and say, oh, why didn't you tell my whole family that he's not playing? Bro, I don't understand. Like, listen, Ramsdale, congrats on the kid and that. Like, honestly, hope everything goes fantastic. But were they expecting Arteta to come to the hospital and be like, oh yeah, by the way, congrats on the newborn, but let him know that dad's not going to be playing against Burnley this weekend? Like, why do you have to have a warning? It's not Arteta's job to warn the whole family that the player's not playing. To be honest, I don't think Ramsdale's done much wrong. I think people are reading way too much into him doing the clapping or having a sulking face. He's been calm, but his dad, he's ruining everything. He's acting like Rams was the first player to ever sign a contract to preserve their value so that when it's time to sell them, they can get a decent fee. But at the end of the day, this is not Sheffield United or Bournemouth. This is Arsenal Football Club. Nobody's above the law. Your chain can get snatched in a moment. But like I said, I don't really care who's our number one. If it ends up being Ramsdale again, cool. But you man just got to stop doing the talking and just fight it out on the training ground and keep your clean sheets in the game.
Hello, people. Just here to quickly discuss the goalkeeping situation occurring at Arsenal. What I will say is, I was never really a fan of the Ramsdale signing from the beginning. I didn't understand why Arteta wanted a championship level goalkeeper. And what I will say is he has, he's saved us. In moments where we thought that we had the title, he has really saved us. So, for example, those two shots against Liverpool, like those moments where you actually thank God for someone like Ramsdale in those moments. So my mind has changed about him, and I'm very grateful for certain moments that he has helped us. But what I will say is, Arteta clearly has a profile for a goalkeeper being able to play up from the back, and he sees that Raya is able to do that. Raya hasn't started off on the greatest of fronts, but for some reason I feel like I'd rather see a game out with Raya in the sticks than I would Ramsdale. That doesn't mean I don't have love for Rambo. Of course I do. And I'd love to see him be England's number one. But we need to think about what it takes to be a title-winning team, and a title-winning team requires a quality keeper. I don't know whether Raya is going to show up for that and be that level keeper for us. But the comments that Aaron Ramsdale's dad made about not being able, like his smile has gone. Brother, this is life. Sir, this is life. You don't become number one just because you overthrew the last number one. You need to be consistent and be the quality that we need. So Rambo needs to do right now is he needs to work hard. You don't become number one by just waiting until Raya does something stupid and then you'll get your opportunity. Raya has done some stupid things. Like, he's done some stupid shit, but he hasn't been benched yet. So Rambo needs to remember what it takes to be a quality keeper, and he needs to really up his game. But what I was saying, this whole goalkeeping situation, like Arteta talking about subbing a goalkeeper on at halftime, if you want to do that, by all means, do that. But remember that we need consistency. And I really hope that we find rhythm and momentum in January. I don't know whether that means Raya stays our number one for now until summer. Rambo goes in January or he goes in summer. But we need clarity. For now, it seems like Raya is going to be our guy up until January, until the transfer window opens. We'll see what's in store.
So my thoughts on the Ramsdale situation is obvious. I think first things first, from the father side of things, I totally understand it. We have to understand that he's protecting his son. And I think given an interview where he feels that Ramsdale's been dropped unfairly is totally fair. However, I will add that it adds fuel to the fire and it makes it even more of a talking point, which is not what you want. You want it to be seamless, but it's not going to be that case because Ramsdale's a fan's favourite, and I totally get why fans want to see him start. But we have to understand why Raya's in the team, and it's those fine margins. You know, that's the reason why Arteta signed him, is because he's a step closer to the profile of what Mikel Arteta wants as a goalkeeper, just like how Ramsdale was closer to Leno was in terms of what Mikel Arteta wants. And I think it's those little fine margins of the save percentage, the better shot stopping, the aggressive positioning as to why he starts over Ramsdale. So I can get why Mikel is playing Raya, but I also think it's the way he said it in the media. He kind of made it out to be two keepers both fighting for it and it's a fair battle, when it looks like he's preferred Raya the whole time and it was just maybe a media ploy to get fans on side with a new idea. And now what we're seeing is, something where fans feel like it's been hard done by on Ramsdale and they feel like he should be starting or at least given a chance. Yeah, that's what we thought he was going to get. But I think if Mikel Arteta comes out and says to the media that Raya is my number one, then fans will understand it. But because he's not given fans a reason to why Ramsdale's been dropped, then, I can see why fans are a bit frustrated. But I think even on Raya's camp, his agent speaking isn't helping out either. So I think for this entire situation, it ends up with one player leaving and Arsenal end up with a better goalkeeper. So if Aaron Ramsdale can improve before the end of the season and fight his place back into the team, you never know. There may be an injury, there may be a suspension, and, Ramsdale might get a chance again. And if he can take that and show us that he can do what Mikel Arteta wants from a goalkeeper to a higher standard, then of course we've got Arsenal going to end up with a win-win. Either we get money for one goalkeeper, or we end up with a better starter. So I feel like it's going to end up with Ramsdale potentially leaving, but of course I'm open to Ramsdale coming back, and if not, we can always sign a new goalkeeper as well. But for now, I think Ramsdale's father, it's fair, and Raya is the starter.
Obviously, first thing is first, people. Big up Amenya, Sammy, and Babs for all sending me videos and letting me know exactly how they all feel on this indirectly Ramsdale versus Raya debate. And obviously, in light with recently, Nick Ramsdale's dad, speaking on a podcast. Now, I've offered my thoughts. Again, let me know yours, people, because again, I want to know how everybody feels. I'm sure we don't all view this the same way. And I think all of them, apologies, all made fantastic points about Ramsdale and Raya and the whole debate and so on and so forth. Don't forget to let me know your thoughts. My 2 pence on Aaron Ramsdale versus David Raya is exactly what Sammy said, in that, Raya hasn't necessarily started on the best of fronts. I also agree with everything Amenya said. Apologies about, I don't really care. And I think Bav said it perfectly about fine margins. If Mikel Arteta believes that David Raya's fine margins, while Ramsdale's a good keeper, but Raya might be better at certain aspects, if that's the difference between us winning a title or indirectly improving as a football club, I'm all for it, people. It's facts over feelings. I don't think it's necessarily a fact that Raya is a better goalkeeper than Aaron Ramsdale, but I do think his level of focus, even though there's plenty of examples fans could dispel that, I think his level of focus and more or less his willingness, even when things are going chaotic, to just stick to what Mikel Arteta has told him is exactly why I believe he wants him. And I also think, fundamentally, Raya was his first choice. This was a player that he always wanted. Ramsdale was another player identified that's done great for us. And obviously a market opportunity was laid at our feet in the summer to bring in a goalkeeper. I don't buy the whole 2 rotation keepers. Granted, if Raya or Ramsdale are accepting of the competition and what their current realities are, great. But I do think in the summer, on top of needing to address midfield, potentially buying a wide man and obviously a striker, a number 2 keeper is on the agenda. Ramsdale can't buy a game for club or country. Southgate has kind of added his 2 pence and said 6 months down the line, I can't really guarantee that Ramsdale will be part of the England squad, even though he should be. I do think the only things that Raya's glaringly got over him, as I said, is his willingness to stick to what I interpret as Mikel Arteta has told him to do. And I think his range of passing is that much better. That being is a little bit better. That being said, I think they're both in the same realm. Again, I'm a bit of a left field choice with this one, but if like the new Alisson that transformed Liverpool came on the scene, I'm all for binning both of them and maybe getting a better keeper. And I do think fans, we need to not get over fan favourites because that's what we're in football for. But as much as we get better as a team, these difficult decisions are going to be made. We've seen it with Tierney. You know, Zinchenko and Jesus might see their roles somewhat diminished and find themselves at some point in the same kind of roles they found themselves at Manchester City, in that they're regulars, they're rotation options. And obviously they've transformed our system, but they're not the go-to men. You know, had Timber have been fit, we could be saying some of the similar things we've said about Ramsdale versus Raya in relation to Zinchenko or Benjamin White. Competition is key. Difficult decisions have to be made. And if Raya is the guy, then Raya is the guy, really. I wouldn't want to see Ramsdale leave. I don't think Raya, well, obviously, Raya started the most important games. He is the number one, and Mikel Arteta has indirectly made that clear. But for me, I don't think it's a thing where Raya is clearly better than him. I think they're in the same realm. I think, you know, indirectly, at least for a year, we've got two good goalies that are able to push each other. Let's be brutally honest. Matt Turner couldn't do anything of that sort to Ramsdale. Ironically, Ramsdale's at least he's got 2 Premier League games on paper starting on Saturday, because Raya's technically on loan and he can't play against Brentford. I want to see Ramsdale thrive. Obviously, he's homegrown. He's been part of this. You know, I feel a bit unlucky that I feel sorry for him that he's been marginalised and hasn't made his Champions League debut. But facts over feelings. Go and prove Mikel Arteta wrong. And I don't know what Mikel Arteta has said. Has he genuinely kept both keepers in the dark and told Raya, listen, I like you as once upon a time a target for us, but Ramsdale's got the number one. When you get an opportunity, grab it. Has he sat there and told Ramsdale, you know what, Ramsdale, I like you, but I really genuinely do want 2 rotation option keepers, which could be an angle. And he said, you know what, it's your shirt to hold on to it. Don't let Raya grab it off you. And if he does, make sure you finesse it back. Ramsdale's been here with Leno before. You know, or has he made it clear to either party, you're the number one and you're the number 2, and if you can change my thoughts, you can change my thoughts, really? I don't really know. Obviously, I'm looking a bit ahead, and you'd imagine Raya's going to be made permanent and be here for a while, but you would imagine he at some point is going to play in La Liga. For Aaron Ramsdale, obviously, I don't think he's going to retire at Arsenal, but you never know, really. And obviously, Ramsdale's still young, and I just think the club will look at it and say, you know what, we spent a lot of money in the last 2 years. In terms of outgoings, we ain't got too much back. Balogun's probably the only standout one, and that'll push Austin Trusty because you had him for 12 months. You made a quick profit. In the summer, we might look at it and say, you know what, Partey, if we sign another midfielder, it's the chance to shed Partey's wages off the wage bill. Emil Smith-Rowe could probably get a decent fee if he sold. Indirectly, Eddie Nketiah and Reece Nelson, excluding homegrown, depending on what we do in the areas that them two play in. And where you look at it, you know, Ramsdale could probably get us a decent fee. Where he goes, I don't know. I just have in my head he's going to go Newcastle, but it's not evidently clear you're going to play ahead of Nick Pope. You've been linked with Chelsea, which Fabrizio Romano was kind of quashed, but you've got Sanchez there, really and truly. You know, Bayern Munich, indirectly people have been linked with him. I don't know, as long as Neuer and the other keepers there. So I'm not going to say it's as good as it gets here for Ramsdale at Arsenal, but it's a long cry away from you playing in League Two, and obviously respectfully at Sheffield United and all of them, and Bournemouth and these sort of things. You know, Ramsdale, he had to be patient to get Leno's spot. He got it, and it's been a whirlwind of a season. He's been a regular, so I don't doubt him for feeling hard done by potentially signing a new deal with a key player and somebody stolen your spot. But at the same time, it's facts over feelings. If Raya can prove his quality, then, you know, we've got to be cruel to Ramsdale and kind to the collective, really. I would have loved Tierney to stay. I think Tierney's one's a bit different because he kind of said, Gaffer, I want to leave. But you saw how the role has changed, really. The players that helped us become a competitive team might not have been the players that helped us get top 4. The players that helped us get top 4 might not necessarily be the players that help us get it again and aspire to titles. And, you know, by God's grace, Arsenal win a league trophy or significant honours in the near to distant future. The players that help us get our first one, they might not be the guys for the second, really and truly. You look at, you know, obviously Pep don't really put up much of a fight. If you want to leave, you want to leave. But a big part as to why City have been able to cope in the latter stages of the Champions League has been their defenders or their changed defensive outlook. And you look at, Zinchenko's was a key player for them, and that time showed his quality. But you've got Ake and all of these guys that play out wide. You've got players that are stronger in 1v1 duels. There might be a scenario where we need to kind of adopt that. I think Zinchenko's a key player. I like him. I think he's versatile. Wouldn't rule out him playing in midfield. But if we get to latter stages of competitions, that's where you need a Timber who can't do what Zinchenko does to as high a level as Zinchenko, but he can do it to a suitable standard that isn't too far off, and he's stronger 1v1 really. I would love both keepers to stay. We've been crying for a decent keeper, and now like buses, you wait forever and then two come along really and truly. But I don't think it's sustainable for this season at least. I don't think Ramsdale should be allowed to leave in January. I respectfully to Aaron Ramsdale, I don't really care how much you want to play. Ramsdale doesn't strike me as someone that's going to kick up a fuss and be a mercenary, and I know he wants to play and my heart bleeds for you, but crucially, you're part of the squad. We need a strong squad. Anyone who wants to leave that's of significance, even to a degree, Thomas Partey, deal with what you need to in the summer. Deal with your agent at this moment in time. Get them to sort out summer moves, but you're staying in what's left of the season. So it's an interesting debate. I do think Ramsdale will get a chance. When that comes, I don't know, because as I said, Raya hasn't exactly thrived at Arsenal. He's done all right, but he has made some mistakes. It's not a wow factor right now, if I'm completely honest with you, but hopefully in time he shows really and truly. And when you look at our summer business, obviously Declan Rice it's like he's always been here and come through the academy, a quality player. The only thing you can say about Timber is, unfortunately, he's been injured. Them to make our squad stronger. I think indirectly Raya does as well, but the jury's still out. And out of the 4 summer signings we brought in, forgive me if I'm wrong, I think that Kai Havertz is the one you're looking at. Because at least in Raya's defense, you have seen some decent games and some decent saves. And you do see, I think his starting position in build-up play is a lot higher than Ramsdale. He's almost like a centre-back, and he's comfortable doing that really and truly. And I think his level of focus, even though there's plenty of examples to dispel this, is higher than Ramsdale. So yeah, man, I'd say out of the summer signings, 2 signings look a bit like the jury's still out. I think, if I had to give them gradings, I would say A star, 100% out of 100% test mark for Declan Rice. He's doing great. Timber, A, I'll take the star off because he's been injured really, and obviously he's a young player. He would have probably had good and bad games and mixed periods for all his quality, but them 2 have been quality. Raya, I would give a C, bordering on a B, because I see what you're bringing, but I'm yet to be moved or have full confidence in, to be honest, in both of the keepers. I like them a lot, but they both do nervy things. And obviously Kai Havertz, I'm going to be kind of say a D grade, but it's probably an F really, because we don't know what you are. Yes, off the ball, you put a foot in, you fit Mikel Arteta's system in what you do off the ball and the pressing and stuff, but the bar's on the floor if you're praising individuals for this. But let's hope in the next few weeks, months, days, whatever, these lot can all convince us really. But yeah, as I said, big thank you to my 3 guests in Sammy, Amenya and Babs for offering their thoughts. Big up you lot for listening. The show doesn't stop though, folks. Let me know your thoughts on everything all 4 of us have discussed, or your thoughts in general. Smash the like button, comment, like, subscribe, and all of that good stuff. And check out the rest of the other vids. And for now, one love.
I've been given like